Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, February 7th, 2024. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Information Technology, Camilo Gonzalez, said that he is disappointed with the slow progress being made in data collection for the National Housing and Population Census. Speaking on WeFM Issues at Hand program last Sunday, Minister Gonzalez said that it is important for the data to be collected in a timely manner to ensure the accuracy of the census.
I am disappointed, I'll be quite honest with you, with the progress that we have achieved so far in collecting the census data. And the reason I'm disappointed is this. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is in a process of rapid transformation. I think anybody being objective could accept that, and it's not a political statement. And if you take too long to do a census, you will have data that is sort of pre-transformation and post-transformation. So the data that you pull from, let's say the first subdivision is a Calico subdivision. I'm just saying one randomly. And it is a year and a half older than the data you pull from the Connery subdivision. The data is you're almost comparing two different periods in time. And a census should be a snapshot, as quick a snapshot as possible of where St. Vincent and the Grenadines is at a particular point in time. And the more extensions you give it, the less viable the census becomes as an analytical.
The finance minister said that there are several challenges in conducting the census, one of which is the availability of data collectors.
Pigeon, the same issue you're talking about of capacity. We've had a hard time getting data collectors, census data collectors, because they're getting better jobs at better pay elsewhere in the country. And so that's a challenge that we've been having. A lot of them start working, we train them, then they get a better offer somewhere else and they quit and they go, and we have to train a new set of people. So it's a very practical challenge. It's not because people aren't doing their job. It's because taking census requires a lot of manpower, and the manpower is ever changing because of the dynamic labor market that we're in at the moment. But we're continuing to do the work. But my preference would be that we increase the labor force doing the census and increase their pay if necessary to make sure that the census is completed in as quick a time as possible, so that we're not comparing where Pigeon was in 2022 and where Joel is in 2025.
The national census commenced on June 16, 2023 and was expected to run for a period of 12 weeks. However, it is now scheduled to be completed in June this year. President of the Public Service Union, Elroy Boucher, says the government's policy decision to increase the minimum wage to $50 a day, and when implemented, no worker in SVG should be making less than $1,000 a month, is a very positive thing for thousands of daily paid workers in the country. He, however, says there are some concerns with the effects the increase will have on the cost of goods and services. The PSU president was speaking on the matter as a panelist on SVG-TV's Viewpoint program discussing the 2024 budget and whether it is a poor people budget.
You talk about those workers at the Syrian stores and all of that. They're really, really positive, right? There are some concerns there, of course, is that Cork is an employer. When the businessman now, a woman, the employer has to pay the extra. Are they going to treat that as an expense? And if they do, are they going to try and recover that by raising the cost of their goods and services? And that is something that even now, even though that implementation, I don't think has happened immediately, I have heard persons on the street, persons who sell goods, have increased prices. And when you ask, how is it that this can be so expensive? Well, you hear minimum wage raise, you understand? So people who are not even employing other people are already capitalizing on that idea that, well, government has raised minimum wage, and so we can put on a little something.
Okay, you have more money to spend.
Not just now to the merchants. So the merchants are going to, clearly, any businessman is not going to absorb the extra cost. They're going to pass it on. So you're going to see some increase in goods and services, and the spiral just continue.
But someone on Facebook was saying that with the increase in the minimum wages, we're going to see employers starting to lay off people. How realistic is that?
Well, they may not lay off. That's what I'm saying. They may increase the price of their goods. So they may not necessarily...
So at the end of the day, you won't have more money in your pocket.
So at the end of the day, it balances out. Because if you have 4 or 5 persons employed and you absolutely need those human resources, how are you going to lay them off? So you have to find a way to keep them while minimizing your cost. And the accountant can tell you that the most natural way to do that is to increase the price of your goods.
Boucher says another challenge with the increase of the minimum wage lies with the Labor Department, which has to be adequately staffed to police its implementation.
That has always been my concern. Do they have enough persons to ensure that this is implemented?
Well, even, I mean, I hear you what your concern regarding the Labor Department. My concern, though, is whether first of all, we're going to have instances where people are forced to accept salaries that are below the minimum wage, but threatened to have their employment terminated if they report the matter to the Labor Department. So it comes back to the point you're making. We have to ensure that the Labor Department carries out its duties effectively and ensure that the rights of all employers are equally protected.
On the provision in Budget 2024 for the gradual increase in the contribution rate to the National Insurance Services, the NIS, from 10 to 15% starting this year effective June 1st, which will see the contribution rate move from 10% to 12%. The question was asked whether the increase will redound to the benefit of workers, particularly mainly those depending on the NIS as the only source of income for retirement. The PSU president acknowledged that increasing the contribution rate is necessary to ensure the sustainability of the NIS, which is key.
85% of the persons who contribute to NIS depend solely on the NIS. And by law, every working man and woman in the country contributes, supposed to contribute to NIS.
Yeah.
So that tells you that 85% of all the workers in the country, theoretically, depend solely on the NIS. Okay. Now, the fact that the NIS found itself in problems, that's another story. Fixing it is absolutely critical, and that is the step that the government has taken. However, they have not gone far enough to ensure that in fixing it, there is good governance and prudent management. Of course, the government is going to say that's not true, but it is absolutely the truth. The actuary said one of the critical reforms is the investment board, the investment committee. Those persons are responsible for recommending the type of investment that the government has to make. The investment committee is a part of the board. I mean, it's ludicrous to even think of it. So they are recommending to themselves. The gentleman said that is a priority. The government did absolutely nothing to fix it. The unions made the recommendations. The board itself needs to be independent. Ensure that there is businesses being represented, government and workers in a genuine way. These people recommended by the different entities. They have made no changes legislatively to the NIS Act, but they have increased contributions. And the fear is, while it is very important to do so, to increase the contributions, is it going to stop the bad investment and the wastage of monies and all of these issues we have seen in the past? That's not necessarily going to change.
And Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves left the state earlier today to participate in Grenada's 50th anniversary of the Reclamation of Independence celebration. The Prime Minister is accompanied by Minister of Health Jimmy Prince, Minister of Foreign Affairs Kiesel Peters, Minister of Urban Development Minerva Brown, Parliamentary Secretary Senator Shaquille Bob, and Security Officer Kenton D'Souza.
For an event just before the rally at 2 o'clock. And then that rally will go on for a few hours, but we leave in Grenada, God willing, at 7 o'clock. Grenada is the first of the OECS countries which gained independence in 1974, February 7th. Then subsequently there's Dominica, then Grenada, Dominica, then St. Lucia, then St. Vincent and Grenadines, then Antigua, and then St. Kitts and Nevis. Of course, the first English-speaking Caribbean countries to have attained independence were Jamaica in early August 1962, Trinidad in late August 1962, and then Barbados and Guyana in 66, and subsequently the Bahamas in the early 70s. So that's where we are. We're looking forward to being with the government and people of Grenada today.
The Prime Minister and his delegation are expected to return to the state this evening. Members of the opposition New Democratic Party, the NDP, went on what the party calls its Four Pillars Tour on Tuesday, February 6, 2024. A news release from the party says the members visited key sites across the country and highlighted the need for a focus on the four pillars of the economy, namely agriculture, tourism, the blue economy, and the new economy. In statements on the radio earlier in the week, both President of the NDP, Dr. Godwin Friday, and MP for East Kingston Dwight Fitzgerald Bramble articulated the party's plan to grow the economy and to address what they call a triple crisis of high unemployment, low wages, and poor economic growth. The NDP believes that by growing all four pillars of the economy, it can build a bigger and more vibrant economy, creating thousands of new jobs, higher wages, and reach every part of the country. As part of the tour, visits were paid to the Kingston cruise ship berth, the Belmont Lookout Montreal Garden, the Greenhouse Project at Montreal, the Peace Memorial Hall, and Fisherfolk in Clare Valley and Lumens Bay. On the site visits, the news release quoted the NDP's president as saying, "This is really exciting undertaking for us, with the NDP getting out and meeting working people across the country who contribute to the productive sectors. We owe it to them to recognize their hard work and to support them as we build a sustainable and vibrant economy that benefits everyone," unquote. Meanwhile, the NDP is expected to premiere this evening on Facebook its new program, NDP on the Go, from 7:30. We hear that with more Saharan dust expected across the island, persons suffering with asthma are asked to take the necessary precautions. The Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment says while this natural phenomenon may lead to hazy skies, the Saharan dust haze can cause the following health effects: a dry cough, a sore throat, itchy, watery eyes, sneezing, runny nose. Here are some essential tips provided by the ministry for you to stay safe during this period to avoid complications. 1. Use a clean face mask if you must go outside. If you have respiratory issues, consider using clean face masks when venturing outside to reduce inhalation of dust particles and potential irritants. 2. Close windows and doors to minimize a dust entry into your home. 3. Stay hydrated. Saharan dust can contribute to dry air, so it is essential to stay well hydrated. Drink plenty of water to help soothe respiratory passages and maintain overall health. 4. Follow medication plans. If you have asthma or any respiratory conditions, please adhere to your prescribed medication plan. Ensure that you have an adequate supply of inhalers or medications during this period. 5. Seek medical advice. If you experience worsening respiratory symptoms such as difficulty breathing or persistent coughing, seek medical attention promptly. Asthmatics are also encouraged to consult their healthcare provider providers for personalized advice to elderly children and those with pre-existing respiratory conditions are also vulnerable at this time. The Ministry of Health says by following these necessary precautions, you can minimize the potential health risk associated with the Saharan dust. The World Pediatric Project, the WPP, hosted 2 teams back-to-back last week, namely the Speech and Language Therapy team and the Diagnostic Cardiology team. A news release says combined both teams provided healthcare services to over 200 Vincentian children, noting that speech, language, and behavioral concerns, especially in young children, have shown to be an area in St. Vincent that needs attention, considering the large number of referrals received. The WPP's speech and language team was led by speech pathologist Miriam Carr, who specializes in cleft-lipped and palate as well as language and articulation disorders. Along with the overseas doctors was local speech pathologist Kimberly Cambridge and Dr. Mishka Duncan Adams, pediatrician and neurologist. The news release says the team is created in a way to target not only speech and language concerns, but also autism, ADHD, and developmental delays associated with genetic disorders such as Down syndrome. It says the team addressed a total of 149 children in the span of 3 days from Sunday, January 28 to Tuesday, January 30th, 2024 at the Helping Hand Center in New Montrose. And on Tuesday evening, the team also held a group session for parents with children who have speech delays that allow for parents to learn more about speech delays and what they can do to help. After departing St. Vincent, the teams continued their assessments in Dominica. Kimberly Cambridge says that the mission to SVG was a success and she looks forward to working with the team again. After the speech and language team's departure, the diagnostic cardiology team arrived here and held 2 days of clinic at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital on Thursday, February 1st and Friday, February 2nd. Pediatric cardiologist Dr. William Muskvaz led the team who carried out assessment on 74 patients, both new and follow-up. Both teams' visit to SVG was sponsored by the Mustique Charitable Foundation. The Stubbs and Diamond Police Youth Clubs held their inaugural Youth Symposium last Saturday, February 3rd, 2024, at the Hospitality Management and Tourism Institute in Diamond. The diverse topics that were presented and discussed to the 53 members of the police youth clubs include teenage sexuality, savings and money management, the rights of a child, achieving excellence in academic and skill-based studies and employment, youth's role in reducing crime and violence, and creating personal vision boards. The symposium was held under the theme, Investing in Our Youths Today for a Safer, Brighter Tomorrow. Speaking at the youth symposium was National Coordinator of the Police Youth Club, Sergeant Stephen Billy, who said one of the biggest challenges facing the young generation is the lack of positive influence and guidance in communities, homes and schools. Sergeant Billy said the Police Youth Club seeks to stem the delinquency and unruly behavior that are ever so often seen among the youth. Additionally, he is encouraging parents of members of the Police Youth Clubs to step up and do their part.
As the Police Youth Club, with symposiums and other activities that is geared towards the development of our youths, they still have to return home. And as parents and guardians, you must ensure that you be that positive light. You have to ensure that you be that positive influence. It doesn't matter your educational upbringing or background. I'm sure that you can show love, you can show care, and you can say some kind words. You know, so we're asking parents to do just that. The public on a whole, you know, first time days I used to hear that it takes a village to raise a child. These days it's like, it's my child, or let me say colloquial, it's my picnic, you know, and you don't touch my child. Nobody can correct anybody else's children anymore. And we need to get back to that state where children recognize that their discipline is not only dependent when they are at home or in school, but when they are in the public domain, they're expected to be disciplined. And if they are not, there are some person out there who will correct them and can do so without any fear of being any reprisal from parents or guardians. Right? So as a community, we need to do that.
Head of the SVG Police Force Public Relations Department, Superintendent Junior Simmons, used the word INVEST as an acronym in his remarks at the symposium, outlining it as inspire, nature, value, education, stable and trust. SOP Simmons said the trust is very difficult in today's society. However, some people will put their trust in members of the police youth clubs. However, they themselves have to possess that trust within.
We trust it because we want you to have the self-confidence that you can do anything that you want to be, and you can be anything that you want to be in this world. So, as your theme says, investing in our youth today for a safer, brighter tomorrow. This is our investment in you, but you also have to invest in yourself by taking the information that would be taught to you today, and don't just keep it in. Tell others who want as fortunate as you to be here today. So when you go back to your different clubs, tell them about what you learned and encourage them to be the best version of themselves.
Speaking on the rights of a child, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Mobilization, Marissa Finch-Burke, encouraged everyone to do their part to protect the nation's children.
If you do not know your rights as a child, then abuse is easier to happen to you, because you don't know that it is wrong for other persons to do certain things to you. On this, that it is not about what you department can do or what the police can do separately, but it is what we all can do together for the betterment of our children, who one day become youth and who one day become adults. If we do not help in the process, we cannot prepare to nurture the nation's most valuable resources, which at the end of the day are all of you.
Representative of the Ministry of Education, Dexter Backer, said the Primary Schools Performing Arts Festival, PRESPAF, has over the years positively impacted the students and creative arts in St. Vincent and Grenadines. Addressing the opening of the Juicy PRESPAF preliminaries yesterday, he encouraged more stakeholders and private sectors to continue to support the development of the nation's children.
Through this festival, there are many outcomes that are positive. For instance, this festival allows for the development and preservation of the cultural heritage of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to build confidence and leadership skill among our teachers and students who participate, bring to the forefront the many hidden talents within our school and education system and our community. So it is therefore imperative that, as a nation, we nurture and support this and other initiatives that positively impact and develop our creative arts here in St. Vincent.
Outlining the importance of the Performing Arts Festival, Permanent Secretary Dr. Risa Noel Mabanat said that it has given the students across St. Vincent and Grenadines the opportunity to nurture their creativity.
The Department of Culture, led by Ms. Maxine Brown, continues to implement programs and activities on the cultural calendar geared towards the overall development of the creative and cultural industries in St. Vincent and the Grenadines through direct engagements and collaborations in our diverse communities and business places. The department recognizes that it is also important to allow our school children the opportunity to display their creativity in the arts, because in that way we are encouraging their participation in positive activities, and at the same time we are building their sense of self-esteem and national pride. Additionally, we are also laying the foundations for the emergence of a whole new generation of artists.
The PS expressed gratitude to all the sponsors of the festival who are playing a great role in the development of the students.
The Ministry of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development and Culture endeavors to create an enabling environment and harness the potential of these young and aspiring artists. On behalf of the ministry, I extend gratitude to the Eastern Caribbean Group of Companies, ECGC, in particular Juicy, Easy Bake, and Easy Bake, the main sponsor for this event. Beyond maintaining its corporate responsibility, during my tenure as permanent secretary, I witnessed the passion and involvement of your team at ECGC, the staff, in planning and executing this event. This is extremely commendable and they deserve a round of applause. I am also grateful to the Ministry of Education for its support throughout the years.